Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā Bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Om Tat Sat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Let us offer our humble prayers to all the people, devotees who are going through a rough time in Ukraine and the other areas, trying to somehow protect themselves and their families. It's a very rough situation there for not one or two, but hundreds and thousands and tens and thousands of millions of people actually. So we should pray for their safety, their families, their children, their well-being. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And let's dedicate today's reading for their welfare. We are reading Canto 10 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Chapter 3 in particular, the birth of Lord Krishna. So yesterday his Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta covered 33, 34 and 35. Basically begins to speak in these verses and reminding that Devaki, that Vasudev, you did a lot of tapasya. Krishna as their son is no easy thing. We may not be able to get God as our child, but at least we can get a godly child. I like that sentence. Of course, their tapasya was very, very sincere, and we discuss about karma and sanskara as well. So we'll move on to the next verse and see what Śrī Prabhupada is trying to teach us today. Text number 36. Evam vam tapyatos tivram tapa parama dushkaram divyavarsha sahasrani dvadeshyor mad atmanaho. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai. Thus you have spent 12,000 celestial years performing difficult activities of tapasya in consciousness of me, or Krishna consciousness. So there is no purport here. So 12,000 celestial years. Basically in the first Manu, in the Swambhu Manu, Krishna and Sutapa, yeah, Krishna and Sutapa. Devaki and Vasudeva. Yeah, it was the Prajapati. It was the most pious Prajapati named Sutapa. So Prishni and Sutapa gave birth to Prishni Garbha. So yesterday, Prabhuji spent quite significant time here, so I'm not going to repeat all that. But the whole point is to get great things, great tapasya is required. Very simple. To get great, to grow in bhakti, tapasya is required. To grow in spiritual qualities, tapasya is required. To get great children, tapasya is required. Nothing comes, no pain, no gain. Right? In spiritual life also it's true. Because Krishna will see, like one devotee gave the example that in the material world, they don't give Ferrari to anyone, everyone, right? They see their background. Is this person qualified to receive? Even though he may have no responsible nature, right? Or he may use Ferrari like a decoy. They won't give to, even if one has the wealth, they won't give it to. So that's what someone told. I don't know. My Ferrari is in my home, but that's what someone told me. And the lesson there is that similarly, to give great souls, Krishna sees the qualification of the parents, right? If parents are qualified, then only Krishna will send those great souls in the lives of those people, parents, right? So am I audible or is it not?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Some connection issue, but I hope it's audible now. So the whole point is they perform 12,000 celestial years. Now, when we say celestial years, one day of demigods is equivalent to 6 months of earthly calculations. So can we imagine? One day there means 6 months here. So 12,000. So what's the proportion? 6 months is 180 days. So basically 180 times more, right? So our years, 12 years time 180. Can we imagine? So that's basically 180 times 12 is close to 2,000. So 2,000. So 2 million earthly years practically. Does that make sense? So 2 million earthly years they did tapasya. Why? To get the Supreme Lord as their child. And what was the tapasya? Krishna consciousness. And we discussed yesterday also. So let's see. Any other comments or any additions here before we move to the next? Okay, let's move on. Yes, Nandini Mataji, you want to read?
Prabhu Dandavat Pranam devotees, text 37-38. Tadavam paritushto hammuna vapusha naghe tapasa shraddhaya nityam bhaktya. Prabhu, can you put Devanagari little down? Bhaktya cha rudhi bhavita pradurasam vadarangam yuvayo kamadi distyaya vriyata vara ityukte madrusho vamruta sutta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O sinless Mother Devaki, after the expiry of 12,000 celestial years, in which you constantly contemplated me within the core of your heart with great faith, devotion and austerity, I was very much satisfied with you. Since I am the best of all bestowers of benedictions, I appeared in the same form as Krishna to ask you to take from me the benediction you desired. You then expressed your desire to have a son exactly like me. Purport: 12,000 years on the celestial planets is not a very long time for those who live in the upper planetary system. Although it may be very long for those who live on this planet, Sutapa was the son of Brahma, and we have already understood from Bhagavad Gita 8.17. One day of Brahma equals many millions of years, according to our calculation. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ahar Yat Brahmano Vidu. We should be careful to understand that to get Krishna as one's son, one must undergo such great austerities. If we want to get the Supreme Personality of Godhead to become one of us in the material world, this requires great penance. But if we want to go back to Krishna, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma, Naiti Mameti, so Arjuna, we need only understand him and love him. Through love only, we can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu therefore declared, Prema Pumartho Mahan, love of Godhead is the highest achievement for anyone. As we have explained, in worship of the Lord, there are 3 stages: Janma, Jnanamai, and Rati or love. Sutapa and his wife Prishni inaugurated their devotional activities on the basis of full knowledge. Gradually, they developed love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when this love was mature, the Lord appeared as Vishnu, although Devaki then requested him to assume the form of Krishna. To love the Supreme Personality of Godhead more, we want a form of the Lord like Krishna or Ram. We can engage in loving transactions with Krishna especially. In this age, we are all fallen, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bestow upon us the love of Godhead directly. This was appreciated by the associates of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Rupa Goswami said, Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha. In this verse, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu is described as Mahavadanyaya, the most munificent of charitable persons, because he gives Krishna so easily that one can attain Krishna simply. Only learn how, Therefore, one need not undergo severe penances for many thousands of years. That's where I am, Prabhu, right? The second paragraph? Sorry, it feels like screen moved. Therefore, one need not undergo severe penances for many thousands of years. One need only learn how to love Krishna and be always engaged in his service. Sevon mukhehi jivvado swayameva spurati adaha. Then one can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. Instead of bringing the Lord here for some material purpose, to have a son or whatever else, if we go back home, back to Godhead, our real relationship with the Lord is revealed, and we eternally engage in our eternal relationship. By chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, we gradually develop our eternal relationship with the Supreme Person, and thus attain the perfection called Sarupa Siddhi. We should take advantage of this benediction and go back home, back to Godhead. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore sung, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as an incarnation to deliver all fallen souls like us and directly bestow upon us love of Godhead. We must take advantage of this great benediction of the great personality of Godhead. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So there's only one thing that Lord there's no other incarnation that gives Prem Sankirtan, the pure bhakti tinged with love of Godhead. Only Lord Chaitanya gives us that, and we are so lucky to be born in this moment at that time where we can really absorb this mood. Devaki prepared for so many years, like you said, austerity is needed. So many years, and they saw Krishna. When Krishna gave this benediction, they saw Krishna, and even then they are undergoing so many turbulences. After after Krishna is appeared, they hold him for just a little time and then he's gone again. So Krishna, we have to really pray, and even if we get the benediction, we cannot take it for granted. We cannot take Krishna's presence for granted, even though he may be our own child. So it's just somebody asked one time, what is Krishna consciousness? It's crying, crying, crying. We may, even if after getting Krishna, they had to feel the separation. And this human life is a great opportunity to try to focus on chanting, like Prabhupada said in this, and really pray for association with holy name. And then Krishna, whether Krishna tramples us or whatever, Ashlishava, that shloka of Chaitanya-caritāmṛta, if he is near us, if he is far away from us, if he tramples us, no matter what, we just remain his eternal servant. Back to you, Prabhu. Please add. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So one may.
I missed a lot due to my travels and stuff. It's been really weird. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mataji, we're grateful for your association. So Mata Devaki, what kind of tapasya they were rendering, right? So in the previous verses, we discussed about that how sense controlled, mind cleansed, right? They were eating only dry leaves, and the body was controlled, pranayam, etc. But what is the purpose of all that? The purpose of all that was to constantly contemplate on the Supreme Lord in the core of the heart. Right? As we read in this verse, they were constantly contemplating, mind. These days, mindful is a big word. Oh, mindful eating, mindful this, mindful that. One whose mind is full of Krishna can only be really mindful. When whose mind is full of crap, worldly desires, passionate thoughts, etc., then how can the mindful or mind be under control? To control the mind, we have to give the man to Manmohan or Madan Mohan, one who enchants the mind. So Mata Devaki, with great faith, with great devotion and austerity, was constantly samadhi siddhi, right? Yam, niyam, asana, dharana, dhyana is ultimately samadhi. And what is the perfection of samadhi as per even the Patanjali Yoga Sutras? Samadhi siddhi ishvara pranidhana. The perfection of samadhi is to be constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord. And that's what Mata Devaki is doing, constantly, completely contemplating on the Supreme Lord. And then the Lord appeared and gave a benediction. And she asked, I want a son like you. So again mentioning Jnana, Jnanamai, and Rati. Jnana means knowledge. Jnanamai means mixed devotion. Knowledge, bhakti mixed with knowledge. And ultimately Rati means pure, unalloyed. Anya bhilashita shunyam, Jnana karma anadi anavritam. That's pure bhakti, pure love. But first, it's not something we can artificially impose upon anyone or ourselves. And Lord Chaitanya's appearance is coming in about 10 days from now, 17th of March, which is Thursday, is the Gaura Purnima festival. And Prabhupada is quoting in the last line that he has specially come for all of us to give us the topmost love to the most fallen beings like ourselves. So we must take advantage of this great benediction of the great personality of Godhead, basically referring to Lord Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, and perfect our lives. That's why we are here, to perfect our lives by chanting, dancing, feasting, fasting, celebrating festivals, devotee Sangha, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, What else is required in life? Okay, 39. Yes. Lakshay Babu Prabhu.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Ajasta gramya vishayav anapatya cha dampati navavrate apargame mohitau deva mayaya. Translation: being husband and wife but always sonless, you were attracted by sexual desires, for by the influence of Deva Maya. Transcendental love, you wanted to have me as your son. Therefore, you never decided to be liberated from this material world. Vasudeva and Devaki has been a dampati, husband and wife, since the time of Sutapa and Prashni. And they wanted to remain husband and wife in order to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son. Their attachment came about by influence of Deva Maya, loving Krishna as one's son in Vedic principle. Vasudeva and Devaki never decide anything but to have Lord as their son. Yet for this purpose, they apparently wanted to live like ordinary grahasthas for sexual indulgence. Although this was a transaction of spiritual potency, the desire appears like a attachment for the sex life and life. If one wants to return home back to Godhead, one must give up such desires. This is possible only when one develops intense love for the Supreme Personality of God. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu has said, Nityaṁ bhagavat-bhajanon mukkasya param jigamiso bhava sagarsya. Chaitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya 11.8. If one wants to go back to home, back to Godhead, one must nishkinachana, free from all material desires. Therefore, instead of desiring to have a Lord, one should decide to become free from all material desire. Anya bilashista punyam, and go back home, back to Godhead. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu teaches us in his Shiksha
Babu.
Na dhanam na janam na sundaram kavitam va jagat ishi kamaye mama janmani janmani avatat bhaktir ahaitur kyavak. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your costless devotional service, birth after birth. One should not ask Lord to fulfill any material tainted desire. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So here it's clearly mentioned that instead of looking for any material desires, we always pray to Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna to reach out to his lotus feet instead of focusing on any material desire. And I think they mentioned about Vasudeva and Devaki that they were looking for Krishna as son, but here we could see that instead of focusing on material, we have to go to Lord's lotus feet. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you, Prabhu. The word niskinchana is mentioned here. Free from all material desires. That's the only desire. Niskinchana doesn't mean having no desires. It means having no material desires. Akama sarva kamuva. Even in Kunti Mahārani's prayers, she says that Tvam akinchana gocharam. Right? You are easily obtained, those who are akinchana or nishkinchana, same thing. Even in Gajendra's prayers, Namo akinchana vittaya nivritta guna vittaya atmaramaya shantaya kevalya pataye namaha. He also says the same thing, Namo akinchana vittaya. So Krishna sees, Krishna tests. Until we have desire for wealth, name, fame, beauty, recognition, prestige, big house, big this, big that, get this, get that, then it means we are not looking for the real Krishna, the real Supreme Personality of God, real pure love of Godhead. Until then, Krishna will say, okay, you want this, okay, take this, easy. For those who are only looking for the unalloyed Krishna Prem, as even in Jagannath, Das Babaji Maharaj's the Tithi, we were also discussing this. Bhakti is very hard for those whose heart is full of material desires. It's very hard. So, good association is very important, because otherwise in the outside world, the whole world is basically reminding us to have a lot of this, and the grass always seems to be greener on the other side, right? The grass always seems to be greener. If someone is living in one city, then they want to go to the other city. If someone has this job, they want to get that job. If someone is having this home, they want to get that home. So there's always a but in everyone's life. But the whole point is that those who have Krishna and those who really have Krishna in their heart, they are always happy and satisfied. Whether they are rich or poor, India or America, that's all secondary, because they have the Krishna in their heart. Their heart is full of bhakti. Like Chintamani jewel, Rupa Goswami Sanatana Goswami kept in the garbage trash, because their heart was full of the real Chintamani jewel of Krishna consciousness. So, easier said than done, but that's what we have to train ourselves, and to be constantly be reminded of what is truth, what is real Chintamani, and what is false Chintamani. So, of course, their desire was in the transcendental Deva Maya, their spiritual desires. That's not a material desire, and they were the eternal parents of the Supreme Lord. So their desire is totally the spiritual level. Any other comments anyone has on this text?
So, Prabhuji, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Then why the last line was said in translation, therefore you never desire to be liberated from this material world. So you are telling that this is a spiritual, transcendental desire. And then why this question comes then?
Yeah, that's a nice point. Prabhupada is mentioning, although there was the transaction of spiritual potency. So the whole point is that a devotee does not want to be liberated from the material world. A pure devotee is not aspiring even for spiritual world. Narayana parasarve na kutashina vividyati swarga pavarga narkeshu apitulyatha darshina. A pure devotee only desires that, Lord, may I always engage in your seva, whether in this world or in that world, whether as Krishna's parent or as Krishna's servant or friend. Like Bali Maharaj yesterday also, one devotee asked that why Krishna sent Bali Maharaj to Sutra Loka, right? Because pure devotee does not, like Prahlad Maharaj, who's like Vasudev Datta. They're saying that until every soul goes back home, back to Godhead, I don't want to go back home. So their aspiration of a pure devotee is not, oh Krishna, just get me out of here. Oh, I'm suffering here. Just get me somehow out of this birth, old age, disease, and death, and so I'll be happy. Forget about others. those rascals, they are doing wrong things, let them suffer here. I am doing Hare Krishna, I want to get out, Hari Bol. That's nice, but that's not the best. So pure devotees are they only pray. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying, oh, make me a dog, but make me a dog in the Vaishnava house. So when they leave some remnants, I will get their Mahaprasad. So that's the aspiration of devotee, that I always be in seva, whether in this planet or that planet or this world or that world. That's up to you, my Lord. You decide that. So they want to facilitate the arrival of the Lord. They want to facilitate the arrival. That's a service as a parent. Does that help or any additions?
Yeah, Prabhuji, like every line looks like is a praise. On the other side, it looks like a telling not to do that. Like in the instead of after the Chaitanya verse, therefore instead of desiring to have the Lord come here and become one's son, one should desire to become free from all material desires. So we should not desire, or anyone can go to the Vatsalya Rasa and cannot desire to have the Lord as their son.
Good. You're asking anyone can do that?
No, why Prabhupada is not. Why Prabhupada is telling that instead of desiring to have the Lord come here and become one's son.
Mm-hmm.
Why Prabhupada is telling that it is a spiritual desire and great desire and the Vatsalya Rasa.
Yeah. So the point here is that ultimately Krishna's will should always be, Karishyasi Vachanam Tav, as Arjuna said. He can put our desires, but we can always put, oh Lord, if you so desire, then please, I have this desire. If you so desire, you know best. I'm looking for a son or a daughter. If you so desire, then you can help this out. So that's a prayer which acharyas recommend. So in this, if one is praying, no, Lord, you have to come because I am telling, then it is okay, but it is again not the best. Because we are Krishna's servant, not we want Krishna that you should become subservient to our desires. Right? In this portion, in this sentence, what is the emphasis? Emphasis is that my desire is more important than your will. Right? But when pure devotees, the eternal associates of the Lord, are calling, they know when the Lord has to come. They know it is not just them calling out to the Lord. It is Maya Shakti of the Lord and their arrival and the Lord's arrival. Everything is synchronizing, and then they are calling. Like Advaita Acharya also calling. One way, why is Advaita Acharya calling? One way, not as the son, but still, he wants him to come, right? But because they know the heart of God, right? So that cannot be said for a conditioned soul. So therefore, we always add this prayer, oh Lord, if you so desire. So, and as Aditya Prabhu said yesterday, we may not be able to get God as our child, but at least we can have a godly child or saintly child. Is it okay, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Any addition?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just want
Yes,
to add
Prabhu.
few other things here.
Yes.
Here, that actually, Prabhupada is saying that line. we don't have the jivas don't have the capacity to have Krishna, our son. If we want to have, people was mentioning, to have a Vatsalya Rash, we have to take shelter of Mother Yashoda or Mother Devaki. To offer service to Krishna in Vatsalya Rash, Yashoda Maya is the guru. And we are the servant of the servant of the servant. That's why Mahaprabhu says, Gopi Bhurtu Padakamalaya Dasho Dashanu Dasho. If we want to serve Krishna in the Vrindavan, all the 4 different rashas, we have to take shelter someone from Vrindavan. And that way we will serve Krishna. We don't have the ability as a jiva. We are Vivinna Angsha. Don't have the ability to serve Krishna in that way. So that's why Mahaprabhu said, Gopi Bhurtu Padakamalaya Dasho Dashanu Dasho. So if we want to serve Vatsalya Rasa, then we have to take shelter of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. We have to serve in Daisya Rasa, then we have to take shelter of Raktaka Patragadi. If we want to serve as a Shokha Rasa, then we have to serve, take shelter of like Siddham, Sudham. They are servants, and then. So that's the way it goes actually. That's why Prabhupada mentioned that instead of asking for that, we can go and in the spiritual world, we take shelter. That's how our gurus are. They are manjuris. If we want to serve Krishna in conjugal rasa, we serve the manjuris. And manjuris serve their seniors, and that's how it goes. I think just wanted to share that. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments, thoughts around this text in particular? Anyone has any additions? Okay, we will move on to the next verse. I would like to read text number 40. Yes, famous Sankirtan, I believe.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu, Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Text 40. Gate mai juvam labdha varam mat sadrisham shutam gramyan bhogan abhujatham juvam prapta mano arthau. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. After you received that benediction and I disappeared, you engaged yourselves in sex to have a son like me, and I fulfilled your desire. Purport. According to the Sanskrit dictionary, Amar Kosha, sex life is also called Gramya Dharma, material desire. But in spiritual life, this Gramya Dharma, the material desire for sex, is not very much appreciated. If one has a tinge of attachment for the material enjoyments of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, one is not Nishkinchana. But one really should be Nishkinchana. Therefore, one should be free from the desire to beget a child like Krishna by sexual enjoyment. This is indirectly hinted at in this verse. So here Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, here Lord Krishna is saying to Mother Devaki that when Shutava and Prishni, they did the tapasya for 12,000 celestial years. After that, Vishnu came and then they asked for a child like Krishna. And then that's the Krishna is telling that pastime that Krishna gave them the benediction. And Krishna fulfilled their desire. So here Prabhupada is saying that actually sex life is a material desire. but it can be spiritual if we beget a child like Krishna. In this instant, I was thinking, before we have our children, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj was staying in our house. We visited our house. There was an occasion so we were asking Maharaj, we were asking for his blessings. And Maharaj was saying that you should pray to Lord so that you can get a child like Srila Prabhupada or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Or he was telling about Indudumna Maharaj or Radhanath Maharaj, like them. That should be your object. So I was just thinking when I was reading that how deep they think and how I was thinking. So I just wanted to share that. And Prabhupada here is mentioning that one should be free from the desire to beget a child like Krishna, indirectly hinting that we should get a child like a devotee of Krishna. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu, back to you. Decide or correct.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Sure, please. Prabhuji,
so as Prabhuji described, the Krishna and Sutapa, they did a lot of austerities and tapasya to get Krishna as his child, as their child. But is there do they have any boon, like after getting the child, they don't even able to nurture him, like immediately Krishna went to Ma Jashoda, and so is like what is there any pastimes behind that? Like Devaki and Vasudeva won't be able to raise their child Krishna. Nanda Maharaj and Jashoda Mata did that. Like, why like that?
yes, Prem Sankirtan Prabhu, if you want to give an answer.
Mataji, can you please repeat one more time?
Actually, Prabhuji, they got a boon to get Krishna as their child, Devaki and Vasudeva, from their past life, but they could not able to raise their child Krishna. Jashoda and Nanda Maharaj did that. Like, is there any pastimes or anything behind it? Like why they won't be able to raise Krishna as their child? Because the child immediately went to Vrindavan, to Nanda Maharaj and Jashoda Mata.
I don't know, honestly. But when I just want to relate that with when Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas, is written in Chaitanya-Bhāgavatam. Suchima was very much, she was so much devastated just because of the feeling of separation. And Mahaprabhu reminded her, stating that I was Prishni Garba, you were Prishni, one life. And the next you were, I was Bamandev, you were Aditi. And also she mentioned that, he mentioned that you were Kausalya, and I was Ram, and then he mentioned you came again. So my understanding is from that verse is like, because Mother Devaki and Vasudeva, they did the austerity. If you, in one lecture, His Holiness Bhakticharu Maharaj was saying that only devotees in Vrindavan can take us to Golok Vrindavan, not other persons, not anybody else. And Maharaj was saying, but as we see that Mother Devaki and Vasudev, they were never in Vrindavan. They were in Mathura and Dwarka. So I didn't see, actually, I didn't read also. I don't have that much. I didn't read, but I don't know, Shubhavilash Prabhu or Nandini Mataji can highlight. Those are some of the few thoughts like came to my mind right now. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu, back to you. I'm sorry.
Prabhuji, it's okay. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Asati Mataji, maybe from your question, I felt that you are thinking that the fruit of Prishni's and Sutapa's austerity was that Krishna was born to them. In Vasudeva and Devaki. Is that in your mind?
Like, no, like when they wanted the Krishna as their child, like it's obvious that they want their child to be with them. Like that's a Krishna's Leela, because Kangsha, otherwise how Krishna will be killed. So but like my question is only having Krishna as their child, and then like my question is whether why can't they raise the child? Why can't they have Krishna with them and like that? That's from Kangsha's pastime, Kangsha's killing. That's all Krishna's Leela. But that's just a question raised in my mind.
No, it's a good question. So as it's going to come in the following verses also, which probably we'll read tomorrow. The Lord is saying, touch upon the following few verses. So the Lord came. He said, okay, you are like me, but there is no one like me. So let me become as your child. And then he came as Prishni Garbha, in the womb of Prishni. Garbha means womb. So basically, the Lord came as son of Prishni and Sutapa. And then, of course, the details of that avatar of Lord are not mentioned, but probably, they did certainly got a chance to raise. Same with Aditi and Kashyapa. And then Upendra, or the dwarf incarnation, came from them. So, and same with Dashrath and Kaushalya, or Ram's arrival. And as Prabhuji just mentioned about Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. So they certainly had a lot of exchanges with the Lord. And ultimately, the devotee's main purpose is whatever is Krishna's will. So yes, from our perspective, it may seem that it is not so fair, but they are happy. Right? They are happy in executing the will of the Lord. That's the biggest happiness of a devotee. Let thy will, not my will, be done. Even it is painful at times, but this is the real test of a devotee's surrender. How much is one attached to my will, and how much is one attached to Krishna's will? So to execute Krishna's will, even if it means to keep my will at the way back, that's fine. Of course, yes, it is certainly, so as Radhanath Maharaj mentions actually in the Janmashtami classes all the time, that how difficult it must be. Like first of all, they gave 6 children, they were killed, right, one after the other. And after a lot of tapasya, a lot of austerity, then Krishna was born, the second child, and then miscarriage for the 7th child. Then the 8th child, Krishna is born, and suddenly they don't get to experience that motherhood, that fatherhood. Look, this only glorifies the greatness of the personality, isn't it? How great are the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord. If to go through that so much kind of difficult time, only to know, okay, let me pass through this time, then I'll get my child. But then they didn't get a chance to even raise that or experience that motherhood or that fatherhood, at least for some time. Later, of course, Mathura, when Krishna came to Mathura, they did experience that flavor as well. But it just glorifies their greatness. And Krishna uses different devotees to show different aspects of the greatness of the devotee. So that's another way to look at this based on the Senior Vaishnava's comments. Does that help to some extent?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice, thoughtful question. So we will wrap up here and continue maybe tomorrow with the next verses. And this is a beautiful chapter, lot of lessons to meditate on the Krishna's parents. So we can meditate upon this, the desire of Devaki, how he wanted Krishna as their child. So let's see tomorrow what happens further. Granthraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasintabhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.